The Case of Kevin Keith, Kim Kardashian's Advocacy for Justice Reform. Introduction. Kim Kardashian's podcast, The Case of Kevin Keith, is a powerful and intense exploration into the controversial case of a man who has spent more than 2 decades in prison for a crime that he, and many others, insist he did not commit. Kardashian, well known for her advocacy for criminal justice reform, brings a unique perspective to the case, raising questions about the integrity of the justice system and the possibility of wrongful convictions. Discussion. Kevin Keith was convicted in 1994 of a triple homicide in Bucyrus, Ohio. The victims were Marichelle Chapman, her 4-year-old daughter, Marchai, and her boyfriend. 2 others were injured but survived. Keith was sentenced to death, but his sentence was commuted to life imprisonment in 2010, a few days before his scheduled execution, due to doubts about his guilt. Since his conviction, Kevin Keith has maintained his innocence and has been fighting for his release. In recent years, new evidence and witness testimonies have emerged, further casting doubt on his guilt and raising questions about the fairness of his trial. Kardashian scrutinizes the case in her podcast, highlighting several inconsistencies and questionable practices that mark the investigation and trial. She emphasizes the lack of physical evidence linking Keith to the crime scene and the heavy reliance on dubious eyewitness testimonies, including one from a 6-year-old child. Kardashian also brings attention to the fact that key witnesses were not thoroughly cross-examined during the trial, raising concerns about the validity of their testimonies. Additionally, she points out the potential bias and misconduct shown by law enforcement officials involved in the investigation, further undermining the integrity of the case against Keith. The key witness who identified Keith was a surviving victim, Richard Warren. However, the podcast mentions that Warren had initially identified another man as the shooter. After being shown a photo lineup that included Keith, it was only later that Warren changed his identification. Kardashian points out that the lineup was highly suggestive, as it only included one picture of a man with facial hair, Kevin Keith, which was how Warren had described the shooter. Kardashian also discusses the role of a jailhouse informant, a common feature in wrongful conviction cases. The informant claimed that Keith had confessed to the crime while they were incarcerated together. However, this informant later recanted his testimony, stating that the police coerced him into providing false information. Additionally, Kardashian draws attention to the potential involvement of another suspect, Rodney Melton, a narcotics trafficker who had a motive to harm the victims due to a drug-related dispute. She points out that the police failed to explore this lead, focusing almost exclusively on Keith thoroughly. In her efforts to shed light on the case, Kardashian also uncovers previously disregarded evidence that may indicate Rodney Melton's complicity. She emphasizes witness testimonies and surveillance footage that suggest Melton's presence at the crime scene, raising doubts about the police's negligence in pursuing this lead. The podcast also delves into the work of the Ohio Innocence Project, OIP, and Keith's current defense team. They unearth new evidence, including a document that links Melton to the crime scene, which was withheld from the defense during the trial. Additionally, they located an expert who questions the validity of the footprint evidence used against Keith. Keith's defense team and the OIP have put in a lot of effort to present this fresh information and push for a retrial. The podcast highlights their efforts and underscores the importance of fighting for justice and ensuring a fair legal process. Kardashian's argument that Keith may be innocent is compelling. The combination of suggestive identification procedures, reliance on a jailhouse informant, absence of physical evidence connecting Keith to the crime scene, and the existence of an alternative suspect creates considerable doubt about Keith's culpability. Furthermore, the new evidence uncovered by the OIP and Keith's defense team, which was unavailable during the trial, can potentially exonerate Keith. Moreover, the fact that several witnesses have come forward years later with conflicting testimonies raises concerns about the accuracy and reliability of the original trial. These factors combined make Kardashian's argument for Keith's innocence highly persuasive and deserving of further scrutiny. Conclusion. Ultimately, Kim Kardashian's podcast The Case of Kevin Keith offers an engrossing exploration of a complicated and distressing situation. It draws attention to the possible weaknesses in the legal system and emphasizes the significance of continuous criminal justice reform initiatives. This case is a stark reminder of the possible human cost of these issues, with Kevin Keith's life hanging in the balance. Kim Kardashian's belief in Keith's innocence, as portrayed in the podcast, is a powerful call to reevaluate the legitimacy of his conviction and the broader implications for the justice system.